everybody.
Hello.
My name is Shannon.
I'm Alyssa.
Welcome back to B Movie Bash.
B Movie Bash.
What do we have this week, Alyssa?
This week we are going to be talking about 2018's Boo!
My God, I forgot that that's what this is called. Okay.
It's just B-O-O exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
So it's Boo.
Yeah.
It has a 3.6
Ooh.
rating on IMDb.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So the synopsis of this movie.
Do you want to talk about the significance behind the name of this movie?
Okay. Well, my friends call me Boo.
Yep.
And Shannon and I are obsessed with ghosts. We love ghost stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's...
I mean, that's
It's-
really it. It's not a huge story, but
yeah.
it's a thing.
It's a thing we do.
It's cute. I know when you told me, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So the synopsis of this movie
Okay, yes.
is a torn suburban family refuses to heed the warning of an innocent prank left upon them, which causes an unknown supernatural force to wreak havoc.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, right? So that
Okay.
sounded pretty good, okay?
Uh-huh.
And it's not.
Okay.
So we start off on a fun Halloween night in Detroit in 1980, and it's fun because all the kids are laughing and running around.
Who
and
goes
riding
outside their
bikes.
house in Detroit?
No one leaves their house
No.
in Detroit.
No.
They literally teach you, when you're out, learning to drive, they say you need to leave a vehicle in between you when you stop at a stoplight so that you don't get boxed in and, have your car stolen from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Detroit's scary.
Detroit's so
Fuck,
scary.
Michigan, you scary.
Maybe 1980 wasn't as terrifying as it is today,
I
but,
doubt that.
I'm sure it's not. But this is kind of more of, the suburban-y houses, so
Yeah.
people are going around, kids are running around and shit.
Okay.
I guess. Anyway.
Unbelievable already.
Mm-hmm. Riding bikes and stuff, right? And then we see the very first shot of one of the ridiculously long scenes.
Okay.
There are so many in this movie. Okay.
Just single shot,
It's
okay.
it's just so long. And we just see a car driving and driving and driving and driving. And driving,
Okay.
and finally it stops. I don't know where it stops. I thought it had pulled up to its own house, but it did not. So,
Okay.
I don't know. So we see a man inside, and he's smoking, and he pulls out this paper from a pocket, and it says, "You've been booed" at the top. Okay? Those
Okay.
cute. I think those are cute. And it has a doodle of a ghost on the front with a poem, but we don't get to see what the poem says. And he puts out a cigarette, he gets out of his car, and he goes into his trunk, and he pulls out a shotgun.
Sorry, did you say what year this came out?
2018.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But right now it's 1980.
Right.
Yeah. So he gets out and he pulls a shotgun out from his trunk and is going towards his house, with the shotgun, trying not to be seen or noticed by anybody, while there's dozens of children on the street.
So wait, is it his house or no?
No. So he goes into his own house.
Okay.
Okay. But he parked down the street.
Okay.
So, for a minute, I thought he had pulled up to his own house and had gone inside. I guess I blinked in the moment of him walking down the street with his own shotgun. So,
Okay.
and goes into his own house. I was like, oh, I thought he was just breaking into a house or some shit. No, it wasn't until later on in the movie when I had to pause to read an obituary or, the news article to figure out what the fuck just happened because I have no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea. So, he goes into the house. But again, there's people walking past him. Yeah. He's holding this shotgun like Elmer Fudd is. Going after,
along.
yeah, and fucking, nobody says anything. I can understand the children, because they're it's Halloween, he's probably just, whatever, you know, but, the parents aren't
what the fuck is that guy doing? Creeping
then
around.
Again, it's Detroit, so I don't know.
Every day.
Yeah. So, anyway, he goes inside. We don't hear anything, but it's, it stays from outside the house perspective, so we're seeing the house, okay? And in the living room-ish area, the lights, or maybe not the living room, I don't fucking know, the lights start flickering from the outside, but they're not on off, on off, on off. It's dim and bright, dim, bright, dim, bright, dim, bright,
okay.
Right? Then there's this really loud gunshot blast, and the whole room lights up really bright.
Right.
And then all is quiet.
Okay.
And then boo as Boo comes across the screen face on.
Oh no.
The music in this movie.
Okay,
man.
Insidious.
Yeah, it was just it's just really dumb.
Bass.
Yeah. So we then next scene, Detroit present day outside the same house. I can't tell. I've watched it a couple of times and I was like,
are they all this? Are they the cookie cutter houses?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, is this the same house? I can't fully tell. Anyway,
okay.
But also, okay, I don't know if Detroit is that cheap. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's pretty cheap living there, but also not. because it's like a bigger city and stuff. But like, there is no explanation how this family can afford to live in this house. Even if it's like
decent
living.
Yeah.
I don't understand. This like has like 3 floors in this house, I'm guessing.
Okay.
That, or like people are living on the ground, but they're not. But there's like 2 staircases in the house, and like I don't even know the layout of the house. I can't even explain the layout of the house because it makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Of course.
So like, because it's a
how
horror
this
movie
goes,
house. Yeah. So inside the house, we see Morgan talking on her cell phone to her boyfriend Ash. Okay. And apparently his name is Ashton, but she only calls him Ash. So like, I was like, okay, then why did we have to give him a full name or whatever? So she's talking on the phone about, she's like, oh yeah, don't you want to like live in Florida? Like the sun, sand, beach, and mountains and stuff? Like, yeah. And then she's like, I could get a tan for you. No, you don't want to live in Florida? Well, how about New York then? Kind of a thing. She's like, I don't know. I just want to get out of decaying Detroit, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I just can't take it here anymore, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, as soon as school's over, like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I can't keep living here, right? And then the caller says something. We don't hear what Ash says to her. It's just her talking to herself, basically. The caller says something, and she's like, yeah, I know. I miss you, too. It's only been, like, 2 days, but I miss you a lot and stuff. And then she's like, listen, I really do like you a lot, okay? But, like, I'm not ready for that kind of a thing. And I was like...
You were just asking him to move. Somewhere with you.
But you're not ready to say I love you.
Okay. Priorities.
Yeah.
Maybe she's like, get me out of this city and then we'll talk about it.
She's just like, like, I really do like you, okay? All right? I can't yet, okay? Okay. Don't pout. I'll see you tonight. Okay, bye. And like gets off the phone with him.
She seems great.
I know. She's wonderful. Yeah, so she gets off the phone with him and we transition to the family sitting down at the breakfast table. The dad is saying a prayer. The mom looks horrified to be sitting there, kind of a thing. Like, she looks like she's scared. The son looks really uncomfortable, but he's sitting and praying and stuff. And Morgan looks like she's bored as all hell. Okay. Sure. And the little brother's name is Caleb. I wrote down the parents' names, but we don't care about that. Anyway, so they're talking, they bless the food, and then they, like, okay, let's start eating. Morgan reaches forward and goes to, like, grab something. I didn't even see what they were eating. Honestly, it looked like a plate of just toast. So she just goes to reach forward to grab something, and Caleb notices that she's got a new tattoo on her, like, on her arm, right? Yeah. And so he's like, is that new? And she's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, can I see it? And so she shows it to him. And it's a butterfly that has, like, a skull eyes and, like the wings are, like, the eyes. And, like, it's the fuggliest thing. Okay. And the mom is like, you know that's permanent, right? And Morgan goes like, oh, my gosh, seriously? The guy in the alleyway told me that it would wash off in 2 weeks, right? Yep. And her mom is like, are you kidding me right now? And so the dad is like, Morgan, like, for half a second, I thought that the dad was, like, kind of a cuck. But, like... A what? He's... Sorry. Where he's, like, the mom's the one that wears the pants. And, like, he's the one that's just, like, the, like... Okay. But they're not...
Chill dude dad?
Yeah. Like, the one that's, like, so distanced from everything that he doesn't even care. Like, that's what I thought he was. He's not. I mean, he's pretty distanced from everything, but that's not... Like, he's the one who wears the pants and stuff. Like, anyway. But he's like, your mother has a right to, like, you know, be concerned about your future and blah, 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 blah. And Morgan's like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. And finally the mom was like, it's okay. It's fine. Let's just eat our breakfast. It's whatever. Like, just...
Eat your plate of toast.
Yeah, eat your food, right? And as they, like, start eating, the doorbell rings, and the dad gets up to go answer it. And there is a brown paper bag, like, little cute handles and stuff, and a rolled up, you've been booed sign in it, right? So he starts to read it off about how Halloween is here, and pass the note along, and he's like, what? And they're like, what is it? And he's like, just a dumb prank. And I'm like, it's not a prank. Like, that
something
is not...
that, like, neighbors do. Yeah. And, like... Obviously, he's never lived in Utah.
I guess not, because everybody is, like, out there doing that shit. Like, everyone loves it, and it's so fun, and, like, fuck that. Anyway. But he's like, yeah, it's a dumb prank and stuff, right?
Unless there's dog shit in the bag.
Yeah. No, like, it's full of candy. Okay. Like, they left candy. And I'm like...
What hooligans?
I know. Wow. Whoa, you know. But he has a problem with it because they are crazy religious and they don't celebrate Halloween in their family because that's paganism. They don't say what religion they are.
Jehovah's
they're
Witness.
Just, I know, but they wear crosses. I don't think they wear, no. So, like, yeah. So, I don't know. Some kind of religion. And he's super bugged about it. But he's sitting there and he puts the bag on the table. And Caleb like, grabs the bag and pulls it more towards him. And I was thinking he was like, I don't want that candy, you know, like, because I would have been like, sure, have the candy, kid, whatever. But he starts to recite the poem. And this poem is so fucking long. So long. I couldn't even write it down. So I didn't write any of it down because it was so fucking long. Like, it had to have at least been 20 lines.
Holy crap.
Because it was so long.
It needs to be like 10 at the most.
Yeah. But no, he's sitting there reciting it from memory. Okay. And like in this like zoned out little, so I'm thinking like, oh, did he just get possessed? And is it like the spirits being like, you better do this, son, or like shit's gonna happen, right? No, he just fucking knows it. So like, but we'll talk about Caleb in a minute. But basically the end of the poem is like, you need to take the note and make it 2 and pass it along, or else your past will catch up to you, kind of a thing. And I'm like, okay, all right, sure. Like, that's fine. Okay. Like, ghosts are going to come after you. That's
spooky twist on it,
right?
I guess. Yeah.
I know. So the dad chews him out. And, like, the whole time he'd been like, Caleb, shut up. Caleb, stop. And Caleb just kept going on, right? And Morgan was like, Dad, he's just joking around. It's fine. Like, leave him alone, you know? So then they get to the end, and the dad is like, did you not hear me to tell you to stop? And he was like, well, yeah, but like, we have to pass it along. These kids at school were saying that like, this other kid's mom got booed and she didn't pass it along. She died in a bathtub. And they were like, holy fuck. And he was like, yeah, and there was this Vietnam vet who didn't, or like, they pranked him because they knew that he was like super grumpy and like hated everyone in the neighborhood. So they put it on his porch and he didn't pass it along and he died. And like, the dad was like, listen, we need to shut up about this. And Caleb, the whole time, and like, listen, okay, so you know how I am about children, first of all. And you know how I am about children actors, okay?
Yes.
Had they, at any moment, at any time in this movie, been like, you know Caleb's autistic.
Right.
I would have been like, makes absolute sense. The rest of the movie, I understand who Caleb is as a person, okay? Just like, because he's got these weird quirks that I'm just like, what is this child's, like, issue?
Yeah.
Like, all they had to say was that he was on the spectrum, and I would have been like, oh, I can totally see how he's able to talk to ghosts like this and shit. Like, just, like, he's, you know, more susceptible to, like,
he's the world.
Yeah, he's in tune. Like, coming from a kid who has ADD, and I worked with special needs kids, like, I would way more believe that this kid has, some kind of a learning disability than not, okay? Because, like, if not, they're raising their son to be a serial killer, because, like, he's a fucked up kid. Anyway, but we'll talk about Caleb more in a minute.
Okay.
But the dad is like, well, we're throwing this out because it's paganism and we're not celebrating this. And Caleb is like, no, and like grabbing his head and like, no, we need to do this. And literally all they had to do was be like, he's autistic. And I would have been like,
that makes sense.
It makes way more sense. It would have made way more sense as to how the parents struggle with coping with him and stuff, because there's plenty of parents out there that struggle with their kids having some kind of a learning disability.
Yeah.
And they act like they don't care about him as much, but like they do, but then they don't. And it's just like,
they don't connect with him.
Yeah.
He acts this way.
Yeah, and like, it would have made way more sense for that part of the movie, but like, they didn't, and anyway. So the dad, like, decides to burn the paper, and is like, demanding that Morgan hand over her lighter because she's a smoker, but like, their whole
Isn't she, like, in high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking she's like a senior in high school.
Okay.
So like,
still not old enough to smoke.
Still not old enough to smoke. So the dad gets mad, grabs Morgan's lighter, and then lights it up. And he's like, the only ghost in this house is the Holy Ghost. And the only curse you need to worry about is taking the Lord's name in vain. Are we clear?
No, my God, no.
Yeah. And like, they just had him say a couple of weird lines that I'm like, what religion are you that you're I mean, like, that's a pretty like common Christian religion thing. But like,
what are you?
What are you? Anyway.
In 2018?
Yeah.
Okay, calm down.
So he gets all mad, burns it. Caleb freaks out and runs upstairs. Morgan is like, holy fucking shit. Like, this is a fucking joke, right? Like, you know, like, she's like, The dad gets mad and, like, leaves the room and is like, have a nice breakfast, and, like, storms off. While he goes off to drink coffee and tea and smoke while watching TV. Like, he's got, like, 6 cups next to him, and he's smoking while he's watching TV. So,
Christian man.
Right? Upstairs, Caleb is in his room, and it shows his fish in a bowl. His dog jumps up onto his bed, and we just hear Caleb scribbling furiously on a piece of paper, okay? And the picture is of their house burning down with 2 dark figures standing in front of the house, right?
Okay.
But this kid's fucking room, okay, that no one brings up ever.
Okay.
The walls are plastered with his fucked up little drawings, okay? He's got pictures of, like, of houses burning and blood coming out of people's mouths and people grabbing their own tongues and cutting them off with scissors and, like...
He needs to be in therapy.
He needs to be in something. Yes. Like, he's got multiples of those around. He's got stuffed animals with their faces burned off. He's got dolls with, like, colored pencils stabbed into their eyes.
How old is he?
He's 12.
Oh, boy.
And, like, listen, okay, 12-year-old boys are a little morbid. That's when they kind of start. Yeah, they're destructive. They start getting into that where they're drawing monsters and shit like that. You know, I get that.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Okay. And his bed is just this mattress on the floor. Okay. And I'm like, is that his decision? Or, like...
Is this the child called It?
Yeah, like, what is happening, right? And he is just freaking out, right? Just scribbling, just scribble, right? His room is also so messy, but not in, like, oh, I've got clothes all over the floor and I've got toys all over. No, it's, like, ripped up pieces of paper all over his hardwood floor. Like... And it just, I don't know, like, to me, I'm like...
Like, he'd ripped out sheets of paper and, like...
And then, like, torn it all up and, like, in little pieces all over the floor. And his parents aren't, like, concerned about this in the slightest.
Okay, maybe they're like, oh, Caleb.
Like, but again, had they been like, oh, he's autistic, I would have been like, okay, it's a little more understanding why they would be like, oh, we just don't talk about what Caleb draws. Yeah. But, like...
That's not good.
No, he's a serial killer. Yeah. Like, that's... Anyway,
yeah.
Whatever. They never talk about it. Anyway, downstairs, Dad is watching TV, and they're talking about how another house, a few, like, I don't know, another suburban area near Detroit caught fire, and that it was most likely set by teenagers that all these people saw were loitering around the house for, like, hours and stuff, but it's part of, like, Devil's Night Festival and stuff. And so, like, it's been happening, like, it's a tradition where, like, shit like this just happens in Detroit. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay.
So the mom is upstairs, and she's in the bathroom, like, looking through her cabinet, trying to find a specific pill in her many, many pill bottles, you know? And is, like, quietly shushing herself, right? Like, just shh. And, like, takes multiple of her pills, which
mental breakdown. Who?
I know, right? She's, like, staring at herself in the mirror. She's, like, trying to smooth her hair down and stuff. And then she's, like, looking at her cross. And that's just... She clearly seems to be struggling with the fact that she's actually wearing the cross, right? Like, she seems pretty uncomfortable to be wearing it, but, like...
Okay.
Anyway, so Caleb is back in his... Like, we go back to Caleb's room, and he's drawing. And he picks up his fish bowl with his little fish swimming around inside, named Reggie, and he's talking to Reggie about how he's like, Reggie, do you believe in ghosts? And I'm like,
oh boy, this is where we're going.
This poor child. Okay. But, like, also, this fish bowl is just, like, classic fish bowl.
Right.
With a fish inside. Also, the bowl's only, like, halfway full of water.
Okay, take care of your fish,
So this fish is, like, swimming around in, like, 2 inches of water. And I'm like, no wonder why this fish fucking dies later. Anyway. Yeah. So he's in his room, he's drawing, and he thinks that, like, he's like, oh, I believe in ghosts, and I feel like I've been seeing things around the house all day, and yada yada. Apparently it's nighttime now. They were just having breakfast.
Okay.
But now it's nighttime and stuff. Anyway, he hears Morgan turn on some music in her room, and I can't tell if they were trying to make it seem like how brothers just kind of, like, creep on what's going on. Like, they just want to, like, see what's happening, but not be involved. Yeah. So that's, I think, what's going on. Because he hears her music, and he, like, goes, like, I don't think he was trying to peep on her at all. But, like...
He's a kid.
He's a kid, yeah. And he's just being a weird fucking kid and stuff. And he hears her music, and this song, I don't fucking... Like, who wrote this song? Because it's so fucking weird. I don't remember most of the lyrics, but, like, the chorus is, like, power. And I'm like, what? I was a weird teenager and I listened to weird music. Okay, I still listen to weird music. I did not listen to power. Like, I'll find the song for you to listen to later, but, like, fuck me, man. Anyway, so, but he hears her listening to that, and she, like, pulls her door open really quick and scares him, right? She's like, boo and stuff, right? And he's like, oh my gosh. And she's like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, I think something's in the house. I feel like something's been watching me. And she's like, yeah, I get that feeling too. Go away now. Like, you know, it's you, you know, like, so she's like, what do you know, and he's like, okay, and she's like, go upstairs, I'm trying to get ready and stuff, and he's like, okay, and, like, runs back upstairs, and she gets spooked by her, like, window, I guess, being, either it wasn't open before, and it is now, or she had it open, and the wind blew in, like, the curtains, and it spooked her, right?
Yeah.
So she goes over and she shuts the curtains, and she's wearing the most awful dress. Okay. It's like, I'll show you a picture, It's awful, and I'm pretty sure it's velvet, but like, or like corduroy kind of a, like, it's like just, but red. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. And she's a pretty girl. She could have been wearing a way prettier dress. Like, it's just, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But it buttons down from the front, so it's easy to take off.
Okay.
So
here we go.
Yep. So Dad is now driving around town, okay, smoking, and this is another one of those... At night.
Okay.
And it's Halloween, okay? Tonight is Halloween.
Okay.
And he's driving around town at night, okay? Yep. And it's one of those ridiculously long scenes of we see him, like, just... like the camera's sitting on his face while he's driving, like from, like, as if we were the passenger seat.
Okay.
And it's just him driving and driving and driving, and then we occasionally see the signs that he's passing, and then it's him again, and, like, it was so fucking long. Anyway, so he finally gets to his damn job, and I don't know if he owns the bookstore, or if he just works at this bookstore.
Okay.
But why is he working there at night?
Yeah.
Not during the day, right? I don't know.
I mean, there should be 24-hour bookstores.
There really should.
There
really should, because when I finish a book...
I need the next one.
I need the next one, yeah. But, like, he goes inside, and it kind of feels like it's a library, but it said bookstore on the front of the building. And he spends a very long time. Like, he spends, like, a good 2 minutes putting away books, and we're just watching him put away books. There's nothing else that's going on.
Oh my
It's
God.
just him putting away books.
They had nothing else to film.
Yeah. Like,
they were like, draw it out for as long as you can, because we don't have that much story, so...
No, I would have been way more happy with this being a 20-minute film.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, though.
An episode of something.
Right. So back at home, Morgan is going to leave, but her mom's sitting at the kitchen table, drinking a glass of wine and smoking, because apparently everyone in this household smokes.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And she's like, where do you think you're going? And she's like, I'm going to go hang out with Ash. And she's like, no. And she's like, yeah, Mom, I have plans. Just because we don't celebrate Halloween doesn't mean I'm not going to go out and still have fun tonight. And she's like, what about my fun? And she's like, well, Mom, you already had your fun. I mean, you're looking at it.
Yeah.
And she's like, what did you just say to me? You don't even know what you're talking about. And she's like, well, Mom, I can do the math. Yeah. Right? And stuff. And she's like, no, you know what? You have to stay here. You're watching your little brother. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. She's like, yeah, you're not going out tonight or tomorrow night or the night after or the night after. And Morgan's like storming out of the room at this point because she's pissed off because her mom's clearly drunk and just being a bitch about things.
I was going to say, also her brother's 12 and he can hang out by himself, but like maybe he shouldn't.
I'm like, maybe. Well, in my thinking is that like when I was 12, I was babysitting other people's kids.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was 12, I could totally hang out by myself almost all the time. My parents were like, cool, you're good. Like, I mean, I think they would prefer if my older sisters were there, but they were like, no, she's fine.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not the kid that got into the weird shit.
You're not the one stabbing colored pencils into teddy bears.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I also thought, okay, it's also Halloween, though. In Detroit, I would be like, no, someone needs to be home with a kid. Like, that's, you know.
Fair.
But the mom wants to leave because she's going to go out drinking.
What?
So
what is happening?
I don't. So she's just going to go to the bar and, like, get drunk, and that's what her plans were.
Okay.
What
an irresponsible mother.
I know. She's
like,
really
what the
not.
fuck?
So that's mostly Morgan's problem, is that she has an issue with her mom because her mom isn't being a very good mom. Okay?
Yeah, that's fair.
So she goes upstairs and she's talking to Caleb, and Caleb is talking about how he doesn't want her to leave, and I guess the mom had just left the house right then too, right? And he's like, I don't want you to go, Morgan, please. You're the only one that cares anymore. And she's like, what are you talking about, bud? And he's like, Mom and Dad don't care about each other and they don't care about me. And she's like, that's not true, bud. Like, that's, they love you, you know? And if anything, they love him, they don't love her. Okay. Like, that's kind of the feeling you get, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just like, please, I don't want you to go. And she's like, I'll be back in a couple of hours. You'll be totally fine. Like, it's fine.
Invite the boyfriend over to your house.
Right? I know, let him in. But
if you
like
have 3 floors, there's a room you can go in somewhere.
Right? I know, exactly. So she goes outside because she hears Ash pull up and honk for her. And Caleb is still begging her not to. And she leaves, and he just kind of is like...
What a selfish sister.
I know.
Also, like, I get it. You're a teenager.
Yeah.
I get it. But, like, if your brother is begging you not to leave him alone...
Like, I know, it's one thing to be like, please don't leave me alone. I don't want to be lonely. Like, but he's like, please, there's something in the house. I don't want to be here by myself. And she's like, you're fine. Just don't answer the doorbell if somebody rings.
Oh.
Like, yeah. And anyway, so she leaves.
Oh, no.
I know. And Ash, her boyfriend, scares her from the back seat of his car. Like, she sees that he's not in his front seat, and he jumps up from the back seat and scares her. And she is, like, way more pissed about it than she should be. Like, really pissed off.
Oh, my gosh.
She's like, that's not funny. And he's like, it's Halloween, babe. Like, it's just, you know. And this kid, okay, looks like he is trying so hard to be a late 70s, early 80s porn star with his facial hair and with his hair. Like,
no.
I can't even describe. I'm gonna take a picture of him so that we can put it up, but like,
oh no.
what the fuck, kid? Also, apparently, every single person in Detroit drives cars from the 60s. Like, no vehicle past, like, 1969. Like, they're all like that. Like, they're the old, where you have to, like, crank the really old window. Like, I'll take pictures of the cars, too, because you're gonna be like, oh, yeah, that's a really old car. Like,
okay.
Yeah, they're all like that.
I mean, can't afford anything else.
I guess.
Family heirloom.
So he, like, finally apologized, or, like, keeps apologizing to her as they get in the car, and she's like, it's whatever, it's fine, okay, let's just go. And he's like, I just didn't think you'd be such a pussy about it. And she's like, you're an asshole. And I'm like, calm down, Morgan. Anyway, so Caleb's sitting alone in his room with a flashlight and a blanket over him. Aww. And he's looking at one of those, like, spinny toys that when you spin it and, like, look at it, it shows the images moving, like, it's, you know. And I think he drew all of them himself because they're really creepy, this weird, smiley, creepy stick figure monster. And, like,
okay.
I don't.
This poor boy.
This fucking child, right? And he hears a really loud bang, and so he starts to explore the house. And as he's exploring the house, I'm not sure if it was from his room or just a room, but this figure starts to, like, levitate up out of the bed, like something is standing up underneath a sheet. So it looks like a sheet ghost, okay? And it starts following behind him in the house, okay?
Okay.
And he doesn't see it because he goes straight to the front door. I don't know why, but he does. He goes to the front door.
Okay.
And opens the door, and there's nothing there at first. But then, and the ghost is, like, coming up behind him. Like, it's the sheet ghost is, like, getting close. Yeah. And all of a sudden, these 3 children jump out, and they're all wearing sheets, too. And they're like, trick or treat! Ah, ha, ha. And I guess that scares him a lot, so he slams the door shut, right? And all 3 of them in unison are like, asshole! And then leave. But then he turns around and, like, slides down against the door, like, panting and freaking out, and the ghost is gone. Aww. So, yeah. I guess the mom wasn't drinking for very long because she leaves the bar and is, like, teetering down the street as she goes.
Lightweight.
Yeah, and she's, like, very drunk, right? But she's, like, headed home now at this point. But after another long drive...
She's driving?
No, she's not.
Oh, okay.
Morgan and Ash are.
Oh.
And they're talking a little bit while they're driving in the car, and she is, like, not talking to him whatsoever, okay? And he's like, babe, come on.
Why did you come out?
Right? He's like, I said I was sorry, like, I'm sorry, you know? And she's like, it's not that. That's not what I'm upset about. And he's like, what are you upset about? And she's like, you know me, I'm just pissed at everyone. And he's like, okay, what are you pissed about this time, right?
Yeah. And
she's like, it's just something that Caleb said earlier and stuff. She's like, he thinks that our family doesn't love each other and stuff. And he was like, well, do you? And she's like, I don't even know anymore. Like,
okay,
just kind of
teen.
Right, I know, and just
calm down.
Yeah. So they drive for a very long time, and then they get to the harbor, and that's where they're parking. I guess it's their make-out point. Ash is rolling a blunt, and she's, like, still refusing to talk to him. And he comments about how her mood ring is black.
Her mood ring?
Her mood ring is black.
My brain keeps thinking we're in, like, 2001.
Yeah.
Still?
No, it's 2018.
What the fuck?
They have iPhones.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And
Mood
so she's
ring.
wearing this, like, mood ring. He's like, yeah, well, I know that black is, like, you know, doesn't mean anything good. Doesn't mean you're in a good mood. Doesn't mean you're horny. Like, kind of a thing.
Okay.
And she's just like, I'm just, like, so sick of my family and blah, 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 and just all this stuff. And she's like, I just can't take this anymore. I don't want to be here. And she's like, I don't want to talk about them right now. Why don't we ever talk about your mom? And he's like, well, it's because she doesn't exist anymore. And she was like, that must be nice. And he's like, no, not having a mom sucks. And she was like,
fuck?
yeah. And she's like, no, I meant the not existing part. And he was like, do not talk like that. Like, seriously, shut up about that. And she's like, I was joking. And he's like, no, you fucking weren't.
That's
shut
not
up.
funny.
Yeah.
No.
And he's like, don't talk like that.
That's not a funny joke, you bitch.
Yeah. And he's just like, come on, don't talk like that. I love you. And she's like, Ash. And he's like, what? Why can't I say it? And she's like, because I'm not ready to say it. And he's like, I don't care.
I don't need you to say
it.
it.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to tell you and stuff. And she was like, well, I just, you know, she's like, it's just, you love someone and then you're with them and then you don't love each other anymore and then you're stuck together. And that's how it goes. And he's like, well, I just don't see a problem with being stuck with you. What's, you know, like that. And she's like, okay, that's kind of cute. And he's like, would it be that big of a problem to be stuck with me? And she's like, I guess not, kind of a thing, you know.
If you don't love each other anymore.
The whole time, though, I was like, Ash is my favorite character the whole fucking movie, and he's only in these scenes.
Dang it.
Anyway, they get talking a little more, and then they bang for way too long. Way too long. It shows them making out Okay. They're making out. They're taking off their clothes. Okay. And she's sitting in the passenger seat and he's like basically in her lap. And I was like, this is a little weird, right? Yeah. But then he gets in the driver's seat and then she gets in his lap and it is a lot of movement. You see a lot of movement. And then he takes off her bra and I saw a lot of things and I was just like, oh my gosh. And it goes on for way too long for someone who was supposed to be in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, yuck.
Okay, like... Anyway, so Caleb's at home, freaking out, and he calls his mom's cell phone and leaves her a voicemail, and how he's like, Morgan's not here, something's really scary is going on, please just come home, right? And I guess the mom gets the voicemail, she doesn't listen to it, she just tries to call it back or something, and it doesn't answer or whatever, I don't know. So then she tries to call Morgan, and she leaves her an angry voicemail about how she's in so much trouble, and just, like, she needs to come home right now because, like, she's so in trouble, and lots of trouble, and just says that over and over again. She then calls the dad to tell him about how Morgan snuck out, and she's like, I need you to come home right now. And he's like, what are you talking about? Well, as she's on the phone with him, she gets distracted by the sound of a baby crying, and she turns and we see this one like street light showing like this old kind of style baby stroller just in the middle of the street, and the dad is on the phone like, honey, where are you?
What's going on?
Hello? And she's not responding to him, and she just goes, shit, and turns and runs, right? And just runs away.
Okay.
Yep. Back at the harbor, they finally have their clothes back on.
Okay.
And Morgan and Ash are talking again for so fucking long. They talk so fucking much about, she's got this A that she's written on her left hand, okay? And he's like, so what's that about? Because, you know, my name is Ash and stuff. And she's like, no, it's just something I used to do when I was a kid. And he's like,
oh boy.
Okay. And she's like, yeah, it's just, you know, like, if I see it, then I know that this is real life. Like, this isn't a dream.
Okay.
And
that's
I was
her
like,
Inception totem?
I guess.
Okay.
And I was like, I would be dreaming about seeing that on my hand all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Like,
How do you, that's not what you do.
I don't know.
Okay.
So they're talking for a little bit longer, and he goes to, like, lift up his cigarette that he's smoking, and instead she sees a razor blade in his hand and blood coming down his arm.
Okay.
And she freaks out and demands to go home, and he's like, what? Okay, all right, I'll take you home. And he's again got the cigarette in his hand, and he's like, all right, we'll go, I'll take you home. And he takes her home, right? And I'm like, Ash,
why is that your response, though?
She, like, gets mad at him, and she's like, are you kidding me? We need to, like, take me home. And he's like, babe, what's going on? And she's like, take me home right now. And he's like, well, look at your hand. What are you dreaming for? Like, what's going on? And she's like, take me home and stuff, right? Anyway.
Okay.
So he takes her home. Dad is at work, and he's putting more books away on the shelves, okay? Mm-hmm. And a couple fall on the ground next to him. So he picks them up and puts the one away. Another one falls off. And he picks it up and he sees that it's a Bible. And here's the thing about Bibles. I'm sure you've seen one. Yes. If you open up a Bible, there's so many fucking verses on these two pages.
Words and words and words.
Words and words and words and words. And he immediately finds the verse that, like, it's not highlighted or anything. It's not, like, any indication of this is it.
Right.
Whatever. And I don't know if it's just, like, the first one in the column that he starts reading or whatever, but that's what he starts reading. And as he's reading this, we see this little, like, spooky boy in, like, shorts and, like, suspenders and stuff.
Old school, yeah.
Old school. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, that's, like...
from, like, the 20s.
The 20s.
Or, like, yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, he's not from the 20s, apparently. Anyway. So we see this kid, like, walking past him in the background, okay? And he's reading the Bible and starts reading that passage about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And as he's reading, like, blood starts to pour out of his mouth. And so he, like, reaches into his mouth and, like, pulls out a tooth. Oh. And then continues to read the Bible passage. And then realizes that the tooth is no longer in his hand. There's not blood on the book. And there's no blood in it. Like, the tooth is still back in his mouth.
Yeah.
And so he was hallucinating that. Well, he freaks out a little bit.
Good.
Takes the Bible with him and leaves the store. And he locks up, gets in his car, goes to light a cigarette and turn on the car, right? Well, he flips on the lights, and there's the creepy boy standing in front of his car with his eyes, like, gouged out or something with, like, blood around him. Okay. However, it's very much just the kid with his eyes shut and, like, makeup, black makeup, and then blood speckled around the eyes and
Halloween.
Stuff. But it's not. It's, like, it's supposed to be like, a creepy ghost. Oh. Yeah. Oh. But, like, I, as the viewer, am like, that kid is literally just, like... like, just standing with his eyes shut. Closed. Yeah, and I'm like, with black makeup on it. Anyway, maybe they were like, they really could have done any kind of, because they had other special effects in the movie, so they should have made it look like, anyway, whatever.
So he is a ghost.
He is a ghost.
So why did you say he's not from the 20s?
Because he's not.
Okay.
He's not from the 20s. He just looks like he is, but he's not. Because we find out who he is later.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I'm guessing.
Okay.
He's stupid. But I don't know why he's dressed like that. Because nobody, like, in the 70s dressed like that.
Maybe it's because he died on Halloween?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it looks like he's, like, a schoolboy.
That's his costume.
I don't know. He didn't die on Halloween, though, apparently.
Okay.
So, like, I don't even know if he died. So, I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Anyway, so the dad freaks out. He drops his cigarette, and like, in the time it takes him to pull the cigarette back up from his lap, he finds that the kid is gone.
Right.
I guess he starts to head home. So back at home, Caleb finds poor Reggie the goldfish dead.
Oh.
I don't blame the goldfish. I would die too if those were my living conditions.
Yeah.
He's pretty upset, and the mom comes in right then, and she sees that he's sitting on the floor crying with his poor, like, he's holding the fish.
Oh, no.
And, yeah. And she's like, oh, baby, what's wrong? And he's like, Reggie died. And she's like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Oh, she's black, by the way.
Oh.
The dad is white, the mom is black, and the kids are mixed. But Caleb is, like, very black. He's a very black kid. So I'm like, the girl, I could totally be like, yeah, she's mixed. But I was like, nah, it's whatever.
The mom maybe didn't have Caleb with the dad?
Well, I guess either she did. If she did, it's not what came up in the movie.
Oh.
But I'm guessing he really is the dad. Anyway, but he just doesn't look like he's mixed.
Right.
The daughter does, but the kid doesn't. So she's like, oh, baby, I'm so sorry. Like, what's wrong? And he's like, it's the curse and stuff. And she's like, okay, baby, well, let's just go to bed. Let's just put you to bed. So she goes over and puts him to bed. And she's like, oh, baby, I just, I remember when you were little and you'd get scared and I would have to, like, sleep next to you and wait for you to fall asleep. And I just miss my little baby and stuff, like, just stuff like that. And he's like, Mom, I won't be able to sleep. It's the curse and everything. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, kid, your bed is on the floor. This mattress of yours is on the floor. The reason why you can't sleep is because they put your mattress right next to that fucking outlet that has the cable little jut out thingy.
Oh, yeah.
Your head is gonna hit that thing constantly.
Yeah.
Because you can see it. It was right fucking there by his head. And I was like, that's why you can't sleep, kid. You're getting them cable, like, things being shot into your brain. This is why, that's why your fucking room looks the way it does, because that's where you're sleeping, kid. I was just like, this move his bed like 2 inches to the left or something.
Put him on a fucking bed frame.
Something.
He is a child,
Yeah.
not a dog.
Like,
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anyway, but he's just going off for a bit about, like, it's just ghosts and everything. And so she's like, it's okay, baby, like, just go to bed. Everything will be better tomorrow. We'll get you a new fish and, like, all that stuff, right? So she decides to go take a bath. And her scene is so long about her imagining that there's blood coming out from between her legs. And so she goes to wipe it off and there's nothing there. And she's like, oh my gosh. So she drinks some more wine. But she's got the bath running and the bath water starts to fill with blood.
Okay.
But I guess she doesn't notice it because it's not brought up. Again,
Okay.
It's not. She doesn't even see it. So it's whatever. Well, at that point, Morgan gets home. She sneaks upstairs only to get caught by the mom.
Yeah.
Who makes her go back downstairs and, like, chews her out for a good while because, you snuck out and you left your little brother alone. And honestly, I'd be pretty pissed off too.
Yeah.
But the whole time, Morgan's sitting there staring at this picture of a pile of dead fish while the mom is walking past it back and forth.
What?
They have a picture, a painting.
That's their art in their home?
Yes.
Did Caleb make it?
I
was like,
don't
what?
know, but it's like this, like, nice oil painting of this pile of dead fish, and I'm pretty sure it's actually a famous painting, but I can't remember. Like, I'll have to look it up, but, like, I'll take a picture of it and put it on for YouTube and stuff.
That's
like,
weird.
anyway. But the whole time she's sitting there, she also hears, like, these whispery voices telling her just to kill her mom. Just
good.
do it. Just kill her. Just kill her. Just kill her.
Good.
Yep. Well, the dad comes home right then. He comes in and he's like, oh, hi, sweetheart. Kisses her on the head and leaves. Right? Like, he just goes off. And I guess she goes to bed because the mom goes to go talk to the dad and stuff. So they're talking and the dad is like, man, I hate Halloween. And she's like, it's been a pretty weird day for all of us and stuff. By the way, you scared the shit out of Caleb with that poem stuff. And he's like, I'm not the one who brought it up. And she's like, well, he's pretty scared and I think you need to go talk to him. And he's like, I've had a long day. And I was like, I'm putting books to me, whatever. And she was like, you need to go talk to him. And he's like, okay, I'll go talk to him, right? So he goes upstairs and he walks in and Caleb is reading. And he's like, what are you doing, bud? And Caleb's like, reading. And I'm like,
obviously.
What are you doing? Walking into the kitchen, Dad? Like, which is, I'm sorry for you're holding the conversation hostage here for me to respond. Like, anyway. So, but he's also sitting there playing with his sister's lighter.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like,
This boy.
The dad takes the lighter from him.
Good.
And is talking to him, and she's like, hey, bud, your mom says that you're a little scared. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, listen, it's okay to be a little scared. It's okay to be scared of things. It's just not okay to be too scared of things where you can't see straight. And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, and starts telling him about how one time when he was a kid, he had this bully that tormented the fuck out of him, would take his lunch money, would beat him up all the time, like just all this shit, okay? And one day he was out by the lake or whatever, and he had just gotten this new box of cherry bombs, and he was throwing the cherry bombs out into the lake to watch them explode, you know?
Yeah.
And which I'm like, honestly, that's kind of a safer thing to do, is to throw it into the lake, you know, like it's...
Yeah. But it kills all the fish.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think there's any fish in Detroit anymore. So he's like, yeah, I was out there playing with this box of cherry bombs, and my bully comes up and like threatened to beat me up, so I ran up a tree. Okay, and he said that he could see the kid just down there circling like a shark, talking about, I'm gonna kick your ass and all this stuff when you come down. And he's like, and I got scared. He's like, I got really scared. I couldn't see straight, and I didn't really even realize what I was doing. But he started lighting off the cherry bombs and throwing them down at the bully.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, okay, but that's how you get bullied more. But like,
yeah.
And Caleb was like, what happened? And he goes, well, something bad happened and I really regret it. And so I'm like, okay, did he die? Or did his eyeballs get blown out?
Did he lose
like,
something?
what happened? Like, because I'm assuming that this kid that he keeps seeing is the bully that bullied him when he was a kid. Though, if this kid was your bully, how much of a pansy were you? Because this kid...
Tiny and...
tiny and very much like, if I was a child, I would have been like, pop, let's go. I'm gonna keep punching you in the face, bitch. Like, how much of a pansy were you that this kid was your bully? Okay.
Do we know that's him? Or that's just what...
Well, that's what the dad keeps inferring
what
to.
What it leads you to believe?
Yeah, like, but I'm like...
How do you die from a cherry bomb?
I don't think
you do.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think you do.
So I don't even think the kid is, like, dead. I think it's just the dad seeing the kid from when, like... But I don't know if he blinded him or if, like... I don't know. He doesn't say what happens.
Okay.
He just says something really bad happens and it's something he really regrets. And honestly, it's probably why I think he's super religious now. Because he feels really guilty about it.
Oh, and his eyes were all blacked out.
Yeah, his eyes were all blacked out and bloody.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And Caleb was like, well, I'm scared of and his dad again is like, so it's okay to be scared of some things, but you need to know when it's okay to like be scared and be brave, right? And Caleb was like, well, is it okay to be scared of the curse? And he's like, what curse are you talking about? Where did you hear about this curse, right? And he's like, from some kids at school, and he's like, uh-huh. And what do you mean? And he's like, well, like, like the Vietnam vet. And he's like, and does this Vietnam vet have a name? And he's like, well, I don't remember what it was. It was some kind of like city name, like Memphis or something. And he was like, yeah, and it's probably just an urban legend, bud. Like, these things just get passed along. It's like, it's nothing to be talking about, right? And he's like, Dad, why can't you believe me? And he was like, you're talking nonsense, buddy. And he's like, well, you believe in angels and visions from God, but you won't believe me? And I was like...
Ouch.
So the dad is like, well, I'm not going to talk about this blasphemy, and we're going to discuss this tomorrow morning. Go to bed. And he gets up and he storms out of the room, right? And, I mean, to be honest, I would be like, bud, like, do you want to sleep next to me and Mom tonight? Like, what can we do to make you feel better? Because, like, anyway. But the mom is asleep while the dad decides to go look up the Vietnam vet online, and we see that she's kind of having a nightmare while he's looking this up. And I had to pause to read that he had gone into his own home, shot his wife, and then killed himself. Okay? And I was like, okay.
How did he even start to look this up?
Well, he started like Memphis suicide.
Okay.
And it was just like, it spent like 5 minutes of this fucking movie watching Caleb toss and turn while the mom's having a nightmare, while he's just typing away on the computer of like Detroit, Memphis, homicide, blah, blah, blah. Like,
but you don't even know that's his name.
I mean,
know. It worked out, I guess.
It did, yeah. But like a Vietnam vet and stuff, like that's, like that's what he's over here sitting and typing in. And I was like,
oh, okay.
Honestly, I would have just typed in Vietnam vet Detroit murder. Like,
yeah.
That's what I would have, like, but I mean, it's Detroit, so you probably find a lot. Anyway, so the mom's having her nightmare over here, but Morgan's also having a nightmare that she's in the bathroom, and trigger warning, everyone, I'm sorry for this part. Morgan is imagining that she's cutting her own wrists. Okay.
Oh.
But it also looks like she has a scar on her wrist already. Like she's tried this once before. And so she cuts herself, and she also has the A on her hand. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting here being led to believe that
this is real.
Or that she's, you know, like, that she thinks this is real.
Her theory doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but then it also keeps doing these dumb flashy images of her grabbing her face and just, like, hearing voices. And over and over and over again, she keeps hearing this distorted voice telling her to do it. Just fucking do it, you fucking coward. And do it, fucking coward. And just, like, over and over and over again.
Okay.
And then proceeds to start smashing her head into the mirror over and over and over. And oh my fuck, this went on for like 2 minutes.
Jeez.
This movie is just so many scenes of it just being ridiculously long for no reason. It was so long. All the scenes just kept going, and like, I get it. She's bashing her head. Yeah, it's enough slices. Oh my hell. Like, anyway, but then all of a sudden she wakes up and is like, not.
Is she in the bathroom?
She's not in the bathroom.
Okay.
She's like in her own bed or whatever. Well, the mom's nightmare is hearing a baby crying, and she follows this ridiculously long umbilical cord.
Did she like have an abortion, or like what is going on here?
Yeah, so you'll see. So she follows this umbilical cord from her bed all the way down the couple of flights of stairs into some other fucking room.
Okay.
And she sees this veiled person sitting in a rocking chair holding a baby, but like holding it up so you can see that there's a baby over here, kind of a thing. And but has like
her back.
Yeah, so she's got her back because she's just kind of like rocking with this baby, and she's got these really long nails. And the mom is like, what's going on? And the baby's crying the whole fucking time.
Yeah, babies cry.
Then the scene ends with her, like, turning, like, or the veiled person turning, and then the mom wakes up. And she wakes up in bed, and she's like, whoo, oh my gosh, okay, well, and then she realizes that her husband's not in bed next to her, so she gets up to go find him, right? She gets up, and Caleb is in his room still. He's sitting up and he's playing with one of those old viewfinders where you're looking through it, you know? And these images don't look like he drew them. Okay. These are the most fucked up, like, creatures coming out of closets and, like, things coming up from under the bed.
Because normally it's like, here's a bird.
Yeah.
Here's a ninja turtle.
Like,
why?
Yeah.
Okay.
These are the most, like, you wouldn't find these in old Scandinavian horror story books of, like, oh, you better do these things or things are gonna come eat your toes. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Like, the Babadook is coming for
like, yeah, exactly.
Here, come. Oh, Krampus.
Like, anyway. So who is giving this kid these toys? Because, I don't know.
Parents.
Anyway. But as he clicks, all of a sudden, it's the outside of his house.
Oh.
Like a picture, right? Ooh. And he's like, and like takes the viewfinder away and just kind of like looks around him and then like looks back into it, and he's clicking through, and it keeps showing images of, I forgot to mention when he was walking down the stairs earlier by himself, one of their crosses on the wall turned upside down.
Oh no.
I know, I forgot to mention that, sorry. It's little detail, but it's one of the pictures that he sees is their cross upside down coming up the stairs, like, and stuff. And then the image changes. It's still coming towards him, like it's walking towards him down the hall as he keeps clicking through it faster and faster. And his door, like, opens, like, from the point of view, like, as if you were the person coming into his room. Yeah. He's sitting on the bed looking through the viewfinder.
And he can, like, see himself.
And he can see himself, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's the creepiest part of the whole movie, okay?
That's
him
good.
Sitting there flicking through these. And then all of a sudden it changes if it's him looking up at this ghost, like, in a sheet figure standing there, okay? And then the next picture is these, like, creepy clawed hands coming up, and then the next picture is this, like, distorted ghosty face, like, coming at him, and he screams and drops the viewfinder.
Why would you keep going? I think I would stop.
Absolutely. I would have been like, picture of my house, pew, out the window. Like, I'd have been done immediately, and I've been like, nope, I've seen what I've needed to see.
I'm done.
And, like,
we need to move.
Immediately no. Yep. So he drops it. And that's that. And it changes to Dad downstairs praying, doing the whole, the Lord's Prayer, you know.
Now I lay me down to sleep kind of one?
Oh, not that one. Give us this day our daily bread. That one.
Maybe that is the Lord's Prayer. I don't know.
Is it?
I'm not religious. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not that religious. So, like, so he's down there. Caleb comes downstairs, and they have this whole confrontation about how he's like, there's something in the house, and you didn't believe me. And he's like, Caleb, seriously, I'm tired of talking about this. Go to bed. He's like, go to bed before you wake everybody else up in the house. And Morgan is like, too late, we're already up, as they come downstairs. I forgot to mention, though, that the mom had left to go out into the hallway, and she saw Morgan just standing, leaning against her door frame, like she didn't want to be in her room, but not in the hallway, so she's just, like, chilling in the door frame, and, like, scares her mom, and her mom was like, what are you doing, sweetie? And she's like, I couldn't sleep, and she's like, I couldn't sleep either, I've been having nightmares. She's like, yeah, me too. And she's like, so am I gonna get an apology for earlier? And she's like, for what? And she's like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna pretend this didn't happen. So they go downstairs, and he's like, everybody go back to bed. Like, the dad's like, go back to bed, what are we all doing? And Morgan is like, no, I'm calling a fucking family meeting. And he was like, you can't do that, because you don't have the authority. And the mom is like, shut up, we're just gonna talk about this. And, like, I guess the family,
sure anyone in the family can call a family meeting.
Yeah,
it's not a dad meeting, you dick.
But the mom at this point is like, no, we're having a family meeting, so we're gonna talk about this. And, like, just goes off about how there's something in the house, the dad thinks it's bullshit still, you know, he's like, this is my house. Like, he immediately starts to explain it away of, like, listen, the poem thingy scared Caleb, you left him alone earlier, and now you're feeling guilty about it, that's why you're having a nightmare.
You were out drunk, you bitch.
Yeah, like, and he's like, so, you know, and they were like, well, what have you seen? And he's like,
nothing.
Say nothing. And the mom is like, I've lived with you for 20 years. I know when something's bothering you and stuff, right? And she just starts having this whole breakdown about how she has been hearing a baby crying because she had a miscarriage in the house,
that
right?
Sucks.
And, like, she has this whole thing about how she was like, you were down here with your good book, and I was upstairs in the bathroom with my stomach all in knots, and I just wanted for 1 minute to be able to come to you and just have you hold me and tell me everything was going to be okay, but I knew that you instead were just going to say this is all part of God's plan. And I'm like, but as a religious man, like, that wasn't that, like, that's one of the comforting things? Yeah, it's a comforting thing. But she's over here like, I didn't want to hear that, so I didn't even try to come to you. But, like, you also don't know if he would have said that or not. Like, I've known Zach for 12 years, and he will say things that I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
excuse you.
Like, what did you just, you know, like, it's like, I would have not, like, you don't know how he would have reacted in that moment. And listen, I know you just went through something absolutely traumatic.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Yeah, like,
it's very hormonal and emotional,
yeah.
so, you know, but
so I'm sure she's over here, like, that's in her mind thinking that's what's gonna happen, but she didn't know.
Yeah.
And he could have been he could have been the most supportive, like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
It's his
like,
baby, too.
Yeah, it's his
assume,
baby. Yeah,
so.
like, but her whole thing was that, like, I had a miscarriage and I lost this baby that we didn't plan for and we didn't even want at first, and I didn't even understand. So, like, I don't know if her problem is that she miscarried and was upset, but, like, also happy because she didn't even want the baby. But I also don't know when she lost. I don't know if it was in between Morgan and Caleb.
Yeah.
Or if it was after Caleb or whatever. Like, they never say when it was, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
It's when you already have an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old. I understand.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're done.
You're done, yeah. But, like, I don't know. No idea. The dad is like, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but, like, you guys are all freaking out over nothing. You know, like, it's nothing. So the mom is like, kids, go upstairs, pack your bags. We're leaving. So they go upstairs.
Dramatic.
And, yeah, she, like, immediately was like, we're not staying in this house tonight, right?
Okay.
And I was like, but you've been seeing stuff outside of the house. Like, what?
It's gonna follow you.
Yeah, anyway. So she turns to him and he's like, what the fuck? And she's like, we're leaving this house. Would you like to come with us?
Are you coming?
Yeah.
Let's go.
And he takes a second before he's like, yes, I am. Like, we're going together. And he goes up and he hugs her and they hug it out for a minute. And I'm like,
good.
Oh, yay. And I think he realized right then, like, that's his moment of, like, I'm going to lose my family or not.
Yeah,
like, I need to.
They're serious about this, whether or not it's real.
Yeah. And he's like, they're freaking out. And that's the important thing. Like, he's like, I'm going to be here for them. And I liked that flip for him. So the kids go upstairs. The parents are still hugging it out. Caleb goes to his room and starts, like, pounding on the walls, being like, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And, like, whatever is there is not responding to him. So he's, like, screaming at the walls, pounding on it for this thing to talk to him. And I'm like,
okay.
Why? I don't understand.
Okay.
I'm so confused. Anyway, but while this is going on, a record player in his room starts to play. And again, I'm like, this is not 2018. No.
Okay.
It should have been set in the early 2000s and I would have been like, this is way more of a believable. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he has a record player in his room that doesn't play music. It just plays old sermons from some preacher like, and the devil is gonna be coming down to Georgia. Kind of a, like, you know.
Those preacher emails.
Yeah, like,
makes me think of Giant Spider Invasion,
yeah.
where you go and get saved and you go,
that, and it's just like it's just, anyway.
Revival.
Oh, a revival, yes.
That's the word.
So he's listening to that whatever is in the house makes a really loud bang. And the parents kind of freak out, and I don't know why they immediately go to the front door, but they do. So I don't know if they thought like the front door had banged shut or something, but they go to the front door and they're not able to get it open. And it's like, it's stuck. But also like, they're not turning the handle.
I hate that.
So like, it's just them like jiggling the handle. And I'm like, have you ever turned a handle in your life?
Opened a door?
Yeah, like I have the handles on my closet don't turn. They look like they turn, but they don't.
Yep.
And it bothers me every time I open them.
Tony hates them so much. Every time we go to a parade of homes, he's like, this closet door doesn't turn. It's not functional. Like, I'm sorry.
And I'm like, I get, like, so that's why I feel like they should be like the hookies, you know.
Latch.
Yeah, but they're not. So they can't get it open. And the dad is like, it's okay, we'll figure it out. It's fine. I'm sure it's like, we'll figure it out. We'll get out of the house, right? And then all of a sudden he gets like sucked back into the hallway.
Okay.
And the mom at that point had also been like, oh, Caleb was right. Something's in the house and now we're all home and it's gonna get us. And I'm like, you have all been home for hours sleeping.
And you were before. And why? Okay.
So, like, why did it decide now that you're all awake? I don't fucking know. Anyway,
it's not like Morgan wandered in and the door closed and now it won't open because everybody's home.
Yeah, like, that's how it should have been.
That would make more sense.
Yeah. But yeah, upstairs, Morgan tries her phone to no avail. Like, it's like just not even turning on. And she's like, what the fuck? The house lights flicker off. Like, the breaker just broke. She grabs a flashlight and I guess puts on pants and a jacket.
Okay.
And she goes to go find Caleb. Caleb, however, is trying to find the family dog because, you know, and we won't really talk about the dog. The mom wakes up the dad because I guess he's just laying on his back in the entryway now and stuff.
Like unconscious because he got sucked the fuck into oblivion.
So she wakes him up and he's like a little dazed and he's like, go get the kids. And she's like, okay. And so she goes upstairs to go find the kids and stuff as he's trying to like gather himself, you know.
Yeah.
Morgan is going around the house. She hears whimpering, sees their family dog hurt, and we're not going to talk about that because fuck ghosts that hurt dogs.
Okay, but it's still alive?
The last she sees him, there's blood all over the walls and him whimpering. And
sorry.
Yeah, but she hears like, I'm just like, why are you hurting the dog? What has the dog done in its past that needs to come and haunt you right at this moment?
Right.
Okay, but my thing, real quick, I'm going to take a quick detour right here, okay? So the whole point of the poem, pass it along, or your past is going to come back to haunt you,
right.
Okay? Let's talk about their pasts here for a second. Caleb is 12.
Yep. What has he done?
What has he done besides stab dolls in the eyes?
Yeah.
Like,
that
nothing.
doesn't hurt anybody.
No.
It's just really weird.
It's just really weird. He hasn't done shit, okay? So I don't understand what's haunting him, okay? No fucking clue. The dad, I kind of get it. He hurt another kid, potentially killed him. I don't know. We don't know, okay? But I would have not assumed that the cherry bomb could kill a kid.
Right.
Okay?
Or even blow your eyes out.
Right? I don't know. I don't know.
It doesn't seem that... I don't know.
I don't know. But this kid was bullying the fuck out of you. You were terrified that he was potentially going to, like, fucking kill you.
Yeah. So...
I don't understand how he's in the wrong here.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you shouldn't have been violent back.
Sure, but at this point, he was also like, I regretted it. Like, it's not like he's over like, yeah, he fucking deserved it. No, True. He's like, I regretted it. So I don't understand why that is his thing. Okay.
Yeah.
The mom's passed. I'm sorry, she had a miscarriage and that was her fault?
Yeah, not an abortion.
Not an abortion.
Which, like, if you need one, I don't care. You do what you want.
But
a miscarriage is very different.
A miscarriage. Yeah. But, like, it's not like they said, because she's drunk now. Like, she's constantly drunk. She's very much an alcoholic at this point. And I'm like, did she have a miscarriage because she was an alcoholic, or did she become an alcoholic because she had a miscarriage?
Yeah. And was she kind of happy because it happened?
I don't know. She never says if she was. She says she was really upset about it.
Yeah.
So, like, even though it was an unplanned pregnancy, so was Morgan, apparently. So, like...
Yeah.
You know, I just...
Like, doesn't mean you don't want it after it happens.
Yeah.
Or
and I'm like, the only person I could maybe kind of possibly understand if we're talking about, like, maybe in a biblical-ish sense is that Morgan had tried to unalive herself at one point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and in the Bible...
Premarital sex.
Yeah, and premarital... You know, but, like, that's not what's coming back to haunt her. We don't have, like, Ash running up being like, ha-ha! Like, you know... Yeah, like, it just... So I'm over here like, so their sins of the past are nothing?
Are bullshit.
Yeah. And this ghost is literally just like, well, I gotta find something to, like, they didn't pass it along, so I gotta find something. Yeah. Like, I don't...
Okay.
Again, ghost logic doesn't make any sense to me. It pisses me off, honestly.
It'd be a better movie if the ghost was just, like, throwing the pieces of candy at the family.
Yeah.
Just randomly. Like,
yeah. Like, just like, you're fucked now. Like, why didn't you pass my note along? Woo-hoo.
Dick.
Like,
Jick?
Jick. You dick
You
jerk.
jerks.
But, okay, so back to the movie.
Okay.
Morgan here, like, Morgan seems pretty upset about the dog, honestly, and she doesn't know what to do, and
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know, I'm so sorry. Like, she's like, and anyway, she hears a door creak open, so she goes to go, like, she thinks it's her mom, so she goes to go look after it, and walks in, and she sees herself floating in the air, like, on her back, just, like, her arms dangling down and stuff, and just floating, just slowly rotating. And she's like, what the fuck? As she drops her flashlight, and I don't know if she shuts the door, like, she jumps back into it, and it shuts behind her, or if the door just, like, shuts. Anyway, we flash over to the dad, and he's stumbling into the living room, and the fireplace roars to life, and he just starts hearing all these distorted voices just like coming at him, and he's just grabbing his head, freaking out.
Okay.
And I'm like, first of all, you've got a concussion. Like, upstairs, like, all of this is, like, happening all at the same time. The mom walks past a room, and she hears a baby crying, and she opens the door, and it's, like, this whole nursery setup, and she sees the crib and goes over to the crib, and there's this blanket laid down, and you can kind of see something that looks like it's moving underneath the blanket as it's just crying, and so she takes the blanket off and moves it, and instead it's just a pile of blood. Just, like, this puddle of blood, right? And she turns, and there's the veiled person standing behind her that she had seen before. And she yanks the veil off, and it's herself, right?
Okay.
And the woman just, like, stares at her for a second, like, her dark self is staring at her, before it just, like, starts, like, screaming into the void, I guess. And she's just, like, her whole mouth is black and just has, like, black ooze coming down her face a little.
Jeez.
And then I guess she gets over that pretty quick because she leaves the room. She's gone.
Okay.
I don't know. Downstairs, the dad is, again, trying to get the front door open because he's, trying to get the family out of the house. But, like, and I mean, like, while the mom's getting the kids, I would be like, I'll focus on the door. You get the kids, you know? Yeah. And he suddenly just, like, swings open by itself. And he turns around, like, he looks like he's about to call out to them when the eyeless boy shows up all of a sudden, like, standing there. And the eyeless boy comes in, and he's like, no, you know, it can't be, and, like, runs back into the living room as the eyeless boy comes after him and, like, tackles him down and is holding this grown adult down with his ghostly strength.
What a bully. Okay?
I know. And screaming at him, an eye for an eye, an eye for an eye, an eye for an eye, over and over.
God.
As he has a spoon.
No, what? What?
And is scooping out the dad's eyeball. Okay? This is that video clip I sent you.
Okay.
Of me being like,
what the fuck?
Yeah. And eats it.
What?
Like, takes this eyeball,
No.
pops it into his mouth, and for, like, a good, like, 6 seconds on screen, think about it. 1 alligator, 2 alligator, 3 alligator, 4 alligator, 5 alligator, 6 alligator, is chewing the eyeball for, like, 6 seconds on screen.
It's very gelatinous. So
But, like,
it would take a lot.
I guess.
I love that you count in alligators.
Yes.
By the way.
I got that from...
You should count in fur alligators. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh! I love that.
But yes, that's
But
nasty.
yeah,
That's
it's
way
for,
too
like,
long.
it goes on every single one of these scenes. Okay, as I'm telling it, it's 2 or 3 minutes on screen.
Yeah.
Of this happening.
That's a lot.
So much of it. And the fucking baby crying. And, like, anyway. So, he's getting that happening to him. Upstairs, Caleb is walking down a hallway, and this black smoky thing, like, is crawling towards him.
Okay.
And this is probably, like, the best special effects of the whole movie, right? Coming at him as he freaks out and runs into his room and slams the door shut. And he's, like, against his back wall, like, the far wall kind of a thing, looking at the door that's creaking open with this, like, loud demonic voice coming at him. But then the door swings all the way open, and there's nothing there. Okay. And so he kind of starts to walk forward, but something from the ceiling grabs his head. Like, these black hands grab his head. These, smoky, like, just... And I think it shoved into his head. I'm not entirely sure, because the animation of that looked a little silly. Like, okay. I'm not entirely sure if it was trying to grab his head, or if it went into his head, or, like, what. I don't fully know.
Okay.
It's one of the only scenes that goes by really fast, so... Yeah. So the mom is now wandering around the house. I guess she faced her demons and is good.
Okay.
Because I'm like, what are you supposed to say? Like, yeah, it was my fault. I had a miscarriage.
Sorry that I sinned.
Okay. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Especially when you feel bad for it.
Yeah.
About it.
She
like,
feels bad. Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's what made her an alcoholic. So, like, I don't...
She's remorseful. The dad is remorseful.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
I don't know.
Okay.
So, she goes along... finds Morgan sitting in her room on the bed. And she's got this big old kitchen knife in her hand, and her fingers are all bloody because I guess she's been touching the knife and whatever.
Oh, okay.
And the mom is like, Morgan, put down the knife. Come on, sweetie, you can come with me. And Morgan's like, I'm just gonna unalive myself because it's not like no one else can hurt me, right? And the mom is like, sweetie, honey, I know you've been going through a lot, and I know I wasn't there for you in the past, but I'm here for you now, and I promise I'm gonna be here for you for the rest of our lives.
Oh.
And like all this stuff, and she's like, I'm gonna listen to you. I promise I'm gonna start listening to you. And so Morgan decides to put down the knife and goes with her mom.
Wow.
And they go downstairs and they see their dad sitting on the floor, like holding his eyes. And I'm like, oh, please, like, they have this whole little like, Dad, we're a family and we can get through this together. Like, I love you, Dad, and it's just a dream, and like all this stuff. And the dad like moves his hands and he can see because his eyeballs aren't actually yanked out.
Oh.
So like, I just,
okay.
yeah, like everything they've been seeing, I guess, is just a dream.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyway, so they talk it out. And they decide, like, yeah, we're a family. Let's find Caleb and get out of here. When they start hearing, like, knocking on the door, like, pounding, knocking. So they get up and they go to the door, and it swings open. And there's Caleb standing there with a gas canister.
Oh,
and
no.
the dad does this, like, you know how when you talk to someone you think is going a little crazy, how you kind of lean forward, put your hands
hey,
on your
buddy.
knees, and you're like, hey. Yeah, that's how the dad starts talking to him. And he's like, you were right, Caleb. Something is in the house. You were right, buddy. Listen, we're going to write down
everything's fine.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to write down the poem and we're going to pass it along. And Caleb basically is like, too late. And like the door slams shut. He doesn't say anything. The door just slams shut. And they freak out and all go running to the door, pounding on it and stuff. And they're pounding on the windows.
Do they not have a back door?
I guess not. In this
Another
3-story
exit
house,
from this house.
apparently not.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, the door is slammed shut on its own. The family's screaming as we see Caleb standing, like, a few houses down on the street as the house is burning down.
And he's the figure watching the house burn.
And the ghostly, smoky figure comes up next to him and is, like, watching the house burn together.
Okay.
That very much looks like the drawing that he made.
Yeah.
Yep. And at the end, we see a close-up of Caleb with this, like, look on his face. And we see a reflection of the flames in his eyes, and the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it could have been good.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely.
Interesting idea.
Yes. Real quick, I'll give you my scores.
Give me your
okay?
rundown.
So,
Yes.
filming, beautifully done.
Okay.
Beautifully done. I would give it an 8, honestly.
Nice.
Like this movie was trying so hard to be like an angsty indie film, okay? It's trying so hard to be that, right? Yeah. And it was filmed really beautifully. Honestly, there was a lot of scenes of like the dad driving down, like when he was driving. There was kind of like this blue filter over it that like looked like it was very much just him kind of depressed driving down the road. And like I could feel that he was like, this is my life. This is the life I'm living now. Like, and you know, like moments with the mom, I was like, man, she just like seems depressed and like just all that stuff. Like
good cinematography, just
great.
Too much of it.
Yeah. So fucking long. Every scene was 4 or 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Everything that I've just told you. The first hour and 15 minutes is nothing.
I hate that.
The last 15 minutes
is when everything happens.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay.
I was so bored, I almost turned it off like 3 times, but I was like, I've already committed.
Yep.
I already, like,
it's Saturday night.
Yep.
I have to watch this.
I have to watch this, yep. And the effects, all of the CG stuff was actually pretty well done. Mm-hmm. And everything else was not.
Okay.
Like the actual practical effect, like the eyeball that the kid scooped up, didn't look like an eyeball.
Okay.
Like it looked bad. Like it was just really the only good part about that scene was when he was actually trying to actively like scoop it out. Like I really believed that was a person's face he was scooping it out of.
Ew.
So like yeah, the rest of it was just really. Oh, I guess I really enjoyed the scene of the ghost coming up out of the bed, like because it literally just looked like it was just like up, like just going straight up. It was pretty cool looking, but otherwise the effects were just kind of meh. I would give that maybe a 6.
Okay.
Maybe a 6. So like, because the spooky ghost thing that comes at him down the hallway was actually pretty creepy, and then that's all you see of it. And then, like, you see the hands didn't look that good, and the ghostly figure that came up behind him didn't look that good. The flames on the house looked like shit. The flames in his eyeballs, like, reflecting in his eyes looked like shit. Like, it was just, that was all shitty. So, like, yep.
Okay.
Acting was actually fairly decent from the dad and the daughter. Zach came in a couple of times and he was like, the dad's actually a pretty decent actor. I was like, yeah, he's not bad. The mom kind of felt like she was phoning it in a little bit at times. Okay. She had a few moments where I was like, oh man. But like even the time when she was talking about her miscarriage, I was like, like I
don't believe you.
I have lots of moments where I cry while I'm watching movies because I like get invested, and or even if I'm not invested, if it's a scene that like the character seems like they're genuinely like giving their all for, I can sympathize with them a lot. Yeah. I didn't care. Okay. I was like, meh. Like, sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you, but meh. The boy. Yeah. Was atrocious. Okay. Well, he was so bad. He was so bad. But again, he's 12, so like...
Yeah. But still, there's a lot of good child actors out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good child actors. This kid was not one of them. He's been in a few things, apparently, since then, and I hope he got better, but like, he was just really bad. And the story, I give it a 3.
Oh, yeah.
This, honestly, this movie should have been, like... it should have been a drama, not a horror, because I cared way more about the family having this like dynamic of, I don't know if it was the miscarriage that caused the family to start breaking apart. I don't know what it was. Like, I would have been way more okay with this being a drama and like watching that, like watching like this family
banding back together, and
or maybe not have been supernatural. Or if it was supernatural, not have it be so hokey. Yeah. And if it was supernatural, honestly, it should have been them doing the dumb moving into a new house and the house is haunted. Yeah. And spooky things are happening from that. Yeah. Like, not...
these, like, vendettas against your past, like, they're not good enough reasons for me to be like, yes, a ghost should be haunting you. Yeah. Like...
Yep. No.
And, like, the booed thing is cute, but also, like, you don't need it.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of dumb.
For the ridiculously long poem that it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, to me, it should have been the family moving into a new house because they didn't have any money, so they had to move into this, like, super old but cheap house, you know, like, I mean, I know that's been done a million times to death, but I would have been way more invested in it than, I'm pretty sure they had been living in this home for years.
Yeah, just a regular haunting story, not, now you're cursed because you didn't pass along this thing.
Yeah,
or maybe if it was still that, but had better better backstory for good things for me to haunt you with.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, like, if other things had happened, like, if the mom had gotten an abortion and didn't tell the family or whatever, and so it was, like, a secret that she was keeping herself. If the dad had, like... drunk drive hit a kid
and run. I was gonna say the same thing.
That should have been that. Yeah. Like, like things that like maybe they're regretful about, but it been more justified. The mom's miscarriage is not her fault unless it was the fact that she had been drinking. So if that had been a thing, like she had been drinking and she miscarried because of that, that is on her. Yeah. Like if it was the dad who had hit and run a kid, rather than this bully who tormented him every day of his life, finally getting it back at him, like that's not fair. That's not fair.
But it pulls in the eye for an eye.
Sure,
thing, so,
but like And I don't understand why the teenage daughter was as angsty as she was. Like, like she had a couple of moments where she mentions to her mom, like, well, I was left alone all the time when I was 12 and stuff. Like, just, like...
uninvolved parents, I guess.
But why weren't the parents involved? Yeah. Like, or dad, you're always at work. You're never here. Like, you don't...
Give us something.
You give us anything other than that.
Other than like, angsty teen.
Who has a problem with her dad being religious and, like...
Okay.
Yeah. So, I hated the story, but overall, like, I enjoyed the dad and the daughter acting. Okay. She very much, like, everything that she said, even a couple of times she, like, seemed to, like, stumble over a line, but it felt like how a person would, talk, you know, like how I stumble right there. Yeah. So, like, it seemed to me like that was a person talking, not just...
Script coming out of your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So... that was pretty believable.
So overall,
the story is what ruins it. Absolutely. Yeah. So I agree with that 3.6 rating. Yeah. And just how long it was.
Yeah. It's like they were trying to make it artistic.
Yeah, and that's all it was.
It's too much. We don't need it all.
I've watched plenty of artistic movies where most of it is really long and then the ending is like the 5 minutes of action and stuff. And I normally don't like that, but some of the I can't think of any right off the top of my head, but like, so there's plenty that I have seen that I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed that movie for what it was,
yeah,
you know?
Setup is important.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
But also, I'm sorry that only like 3 things happened to each of them throughout the day. Like, I just... You know, what it should have been was there were so many times the dad was walking through the bookcases, like, or like a couple of times of him walking through the bookcases, there should have been a figure standing there. Yeah. Like, instead, like a silhouetted standing there, because one of the scenes was him walking past and it was like a couple of rows back and we could see him above the books walking along and the camera's moving with him. And there was one time where I thought it was a figure of a person standing there, but it wasn't. It was just, I rewound it to see if it was, and no, it was just the way the books were stacked. And, like, it should have been a person. It should have been a figure watching him. It should have been the ghost in the sheet watching him or something. All of them should have been the ghost in the sheet. With the mom, when she was walking down the street and she looks over and she just sees the stroller, I think the woman in the veil should have been standing in the darkness a little ways. Like, so you couldn't fully see her, but you could kind of see her, like, you know.
Also, the first time she saw that, why would she automatically be like, oh shit, I need to run?
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize what's going on yet.
No, I would have been like, why is... Yeah. If, or if she had approached the stroller, been like, why is there a stroller in the middle of the street? And then just saw a bunch of blood. That's when I would have freaked out and ran. Yeah. But, like, there's so many moments that they could have made this creepier. Yeah. But they didn't. And instead they wanted it to be more artistic. And there was just so much fucking driving and so much fucking talking between Ash and Morgan. And, like...
We don't need it.
We didn't need all of that. We really didn't. Like, we get it. Morgan's mad because her mom drinks. We don't need to have her reiterate it 4 times. Yeah,
she's angsty.
Like, we know.
We get it.
We get it. So, like, I think had someone else written this movie, even if they wanted to go with the boo thing, they just needed a few more spooks in there for me to have, like, enjoyed the longer scenes, you know?
Was it on Tubi?
It was.
Of course it was. Yes. Did you know there are Tubi originals?
No.
Yeah.
Should we be watching some
movies?
Of these?
I probably, because they cannot be good. They can't be. So, anyway, well, thank you for that.
Yes.
I appreciated it.
Yes, like, honestly, like, the second time watching it, I enjoyed it way more than I did the first time. Yeah. Because I knew what to expect. Yeah. And I knew when to fast forward through certain scenes. Mostly because I just hated the baby crying.
Yeah, and all the long, dumb scenes that you don't need.
Yeah, and honestly, me fast-forwarding through it had me enjoying the other scenes more.
Yeah.
So,
well, do you recommend people watch it?
No. No, it's boring as hell.
Oh, okay.
So, like...
Not even for the good stuff?
No.
If you heard it here, that's all you need.
Yeah. So. It was boring as hell otherwise, so...
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we love you guys.
Love you, thank you.
Have a good time.
Have a good time! Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Let us know what you think by leaving a comment or sending us an email at bmoviebashpodcast@gmail.com.
You can listen to our episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Apple, Amazon Music, and Audible, or you can find the video versions on our YouTube channel.
If you want to support the podcast, you can find our Ko-fi link on our Anchor page. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends.